Good morning, children. In the previous session, we discussed about 5 Shahi dynasties. Are you remember that 5 Shahi dynasties, children? Which are the 5 Shahi dynasties are ruled under Bahmani kingdom? They are Adil Shahis of Vijaypur, Barid Shahis of Bidar, Qutub Shahis of Golconda, Imad Shahis of Berar and Nizam Shahis of Ahmednagar. These are the 5 Shahi dynasties which are ruled under Bahmani kingdom. So overall Bahmani kingdom was ruled in the period of 200 years. Overall they ruled over 200 years. So among that 200 years they ruled under 5 Shahi dynasties. We know that already, we discussed about that, and they contributed a lot in their periods, children. Among them, Adil Shahis of Vijaypur were contributed a lot towards their dynasty. So they contributed a lot to the different fields like educational field, literary field, and in a field of music and art and architecture or art and sculpture. They contributed for different fields in their periods. So we will go with one by one, children. First we will go with educational field. Whatever the contributions they have to be done to educational field. So obviously they were the great lovers of education. Adil Shahi rulers were the great lovers of education. So they have to encourage education in the culture of Islamic culture. They use the education policy under Islamic culture. What kind of policy, educational policy they used, children? They used educational policy like Islamic culture. And then Maktab and madrasas were the important educational sectors. Maktab means mosque. Mosques and madrasas. Madrasas were the important educational centers. So maktabs were the basic educational centers, madrasas were the higher educational centers. Madrasas, later it became a university, and then they taught many subjects in that period, children, like philosophy. They taught in that time philosophy, religious based subjects, and law, poetries. These were the teaching subjects in the period of Adil Shahis. So this is about the contributions, what they contributed in the period of Adil Shahis of Bahmani kingdom. Next we will go with literature field. Whatever the contributions they given to the literary field, it became rich in the period of Adil Shahis, children, because basically the kings who ruled in that dynasty, they were also the poets themselves in that period. ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, they were not only ruled the kingdom, they were also poets. So they were also interested in writing. They were scholars, they were poets. So that in that period the literary field was become rich. So then they written many of the books in the languages like Persian, Arabic and Urdu and Kannada. Which are the languages they used to write the books, children? Persian, Arabic, Urdu, and Kannada. Adil Shahis, in the period of Adil Shahis, the philosophers or the writers used to write their books in the languages like Persian, Arabic, Urdu and Kannada. For example, Persian poet like Farista. Farista was a Persian poet. He wrote a book called Tariq-e-Farista. Tariq-e-Farista, written by Farista. He was a Persian poet in the period of Adil Shahis. And also he wrote Gulshan-e-Ibrahim. This is also another book which is written by Farista in the language of Persian. Next, for the example of Urdu language or Urdu poet, Abdul. Abdul was a Urdu poet in the period of Adil Shahis. He wrote Ibrahim Nama. Ibrahim Nama, which is a book written by Abdul in Urdu language. And next, Kannada example for Kannada poets, that is Narahari, who was written Torave Ramayana, which is written by Narahari in Kannada language in the period of Adil Shahis children. These are the examples of literaries which are contributed or which were done in the period of Adil Shahis. Next we will go with music. So Yusuf Adil Shahi and Ibrahim Adil Shahi II were the great musicians in that period children, and also they encouraged music to learn from others also in their dynasty. For that purpose they have to start music schools also in their dynasty, and who are interested to learn music, they will join and learn that. So among them, rich and royal family women had an opportunity to learn music in that period children. ಸೊ ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಮುಸ್ಲಿಂ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಪಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇಲ್ಲದೇ ಇದ್ದರೂ ಸಹ ಅಂಥ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ಇಬ್ರಾಹಿಂ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯೂಸುಫ್ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾಹಿ ಇವರುಗಳು ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದರು, ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ, ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯುತ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕನ್ನು ಕಲಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂಡ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ದ ವಿಮೆನ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ದರ್ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ they have to learn music in the period of Adil Shahis. So it's one of the great contribution in their period children. And then next we will go with fine arts. Fine arts, Ibrahim Adil Shah II was one of the great fine artists in the period of Adil Shahis. Ibrahim Adil Shah II, he was not only a king, also a poet and also a musician, isn't it children? And also a fine artist. He was a multi-talented person. So Ibrahim Adil Shah was a fine artist in that period, and in his court he encouraged many of the artists to stay in his court. Similarly, most of the Persian artists were stayed in his court, and so many paintings were done in their period children. For example, paintings, nature paintings were done on the walls of houses, mosques and also on the floors. ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋಡೆಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ನೇಚರ್ ಸೀನರೀಸ್ ಡ್ರಾಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡ್ರಾಯಿಂಗ್ಸು, ಕ್ರೀಪರ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡ್ರಾಯಿಂಗ್ಸನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡ್ರಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು, ಪೇಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಪರ್ಷಿಯನ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಸ್ಟ್ ವರ್ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಇಬ್ರಾಹಿಂ ಆದಿಲ್ ಶಾ II in the period of Adil Shahi dynasty's children, and it shown their interested in fine arts. Next we will go with art and sculpture. Art and sculpture is also one of the major contribution field of the kings who were ruled in the dynasty. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯ ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆಗೆ ಬಂದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಮಾನ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸನ್ನು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, in the period of Adil Shahis also they given more major contribution towards art and sculpture. So among them they have to build many of the buildings, forts, palaces, mosques and tombs as that for the examples of monuments which are built by Adil Shahis. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಕಟ್ಟಿದಂತಹ ಕಟ್ಟಡಗಳ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಉದಾಹರಣೆಯಾಗಿ ನಾವೇನೇನನ್ನು ತಗೋಬೋದು, ಫೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಕೋಟೆಗಳನ್ನು, ಮತ್ತು ಮಾಸ್ಕ್ಸ್, ಮಸೀದಿಗಳನ್ನು, ಹಾಗೆ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟಿಸಿದ್ರು, ಪ್ಯಾಲೇಸಸ್ನ, ಅರಮನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮೇಜರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಡನ್ ಬೈ Adil Shahis, any of the kingdoms. But here we are go through with Adil Shahis of Vijaypur, their contribution towards sculpture, and majorly their monuments are in the style of Indo-Islamic style. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಇವರ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇಂಡೋ ಇಸ್ಲಾಮಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪ್ಡ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡೋ ಇಸ್ಲಾಮಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಇಸ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಶುಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮಸೀದಿಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಬೀಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪಿನ ಒಂದು ಆಕೃತಿ ಅಥವಾ ಆಕಾರಗಳು. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿಂದೂ ದೇವಾಲಯಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಕಿಟೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಕಂಡು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋಪುರಾಕೃತಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ಹಿಂದೂ ಟೆಂಪಲ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯನ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೇಸು ಕ್ರಿಸ್ತನ ಒಂದು ಶಿಲುಬೆಯನ್ನು ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಕಿಟೆಕ್ಚರ್ಸನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸನ್ನು ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ Adil Shahis of Vijaypura, they have to use to construct their monuments in the style of Indo-Islamic style. So among them I'll give you some examples for forts here, children. Major contributions for forts are, some of the example of forts are Fort of Bijapur. ಬಿಜಾಪುರದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕೋಟೆ. So it's one of the biggest fort of Adil Shahis construction. It has 6 main entrances. That fort, which is the fort we have in Bijapur, it has 6 main entrances, and also a dome shaped construction was constructed on the fort, children. So this is the major style of construction which was done in the period of Adil Shahis towards fort. Next I'll go with palaces. For fort example, Bijapur fort. Bijapur fort. Next they have constructed palaces. They constructed many palaces in their period. Among them Gagan Mahal, Mehtar Mahal are the important mahals or palaces which constructed by Adil Shahis. So Gagan Mahal, it is constructed in the year 1620 CE. 1620 ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಯಿತು. Ibrahim Adil Shah was built this Gagan Mahal. Gagan Mahal was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah. It has 3-storied towers. In this mahal we have a tower with 3 stories. 3 ಕತೆಗಳನ್ನು ಒಳಗೊಂಡಂತಹ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಟವರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. And then next we will go with Mehtar Mahal. It is also a 3-storied palace. Again this Mehtar, in that Mehtar Mahal also they constructed 3-storied palace. Ibrahim Adil Shah II built this. Gagan Mahal, which was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah first, but Mehtar Mahal, which was built by Ibrahim Adil Shah II, it is famous for its fine and delicate decorations. So and Asar Mahal rooms have different paintings and painted on them. In that palace, in the palace of Mehtar Mahal, we have seen many of the paintings, many of the different kinds of paintings we have to seen in Mehtar Mahal and Asar Mahal rooms. Inside the rooms, on the walls we have to seen many of the paintings here, children. Next we will go with mosques. Example for palaces are Gagan Mahal and Mehtar Mahal. Next we will go with mosques. Among them some of the important masjids which are constructed by Adil Shahis were Jama Masjid and Ibrahim Roza. Example of mosques are Jama Masjid, Ibrahim Roza, These are the example of mosques which are constructed by Adil Shahi's period. Jama Masjid, Ali Adil Shah was built this Jama Masjid which was constructed by Ali Adil Shah. And it is a famous for very wide prayer hall. Jama Masjid was famous for wide prayer hall. Wide means a big prayer hall. It is famous for its prayer hall. How was it? It was a wide prayer hall, and then it is a common building without any decorations. That prayer hall is a common building, and it has different new styles among other art monuments. So Jama Masjid is a bit different from other monuments because it's a simple and common building they use for prayer. So the prayer hall of Jama Masjid was very much wide, children. So that Jama Masjid was very much famous for its prayer hall. Next we will go with Ibrahim Roza. Ibrahim Roza, it was constructed by Ibrahim Adil Shah II. Ibrahim Adil Shah II constructed Ibrahim Roza. It is in the memory of his wife, that is Taj Begum. So Ibrahim Adil Shah II who constructed Ibrahim Roza in the memory of Taj Begum in Bijapur. Where he constructed this Ibrahim Roza? Ibrahim Roza constructed in Bijapur. It is in the memory of Ibrahim Adil Shah II's wife Taj Begum, and it has the tombs of Ibrahim and his relatives. In that Ibrahim Roza, or in the field of Ibrahim Roza, many of the tombs were constructed. Those tombs were the relatives of Ibrahim Adil Shahis. It is the only Roza in India. It is one of the biggest Roza in India, and also it is also called as Taj Mahal of South India. Ibrahim Roza which is also called as Taj Mahal of South India. It is also called as Taj Mahal of South India. Which is also called as Taj Mahal of South India, children? Ibrahim Roza. Ibrahim Roza which was constructed by Ibrahim Adil Shah II for the memory of his wife Taj Begum. Where they constructed Ibrahim Roza? They constructed in Bijapur. So next one more example for mosque, that is Gol Gumbas. One of the major monument in the period of Adil Shahis, that is Gol Gumbas. It is one of the world famous monument also, children. Muhammad decided to build something that is even bigger and greater than Roza. Muhammad, he was decided to construct bigger and greater than Roza. Ibrahim ಕಟ್ಸಿರುವಂತಹ ಇಬ್ರಾಹಿಂ ರೋಜಾಗಿಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಉತ್ತಮವಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆಗ ಅವರು ಕಟ್ಟಿಸಿದಂಥದ್ದು ಗೋಲ್ ಗುಂಬಸ್ ಇನ್ ಬಿಜಾಪುರ್. It has a dome-shaped tomb. It was constructed in the year 1656 at Bijapur. It has a big dome with a whispering chamber. So ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ what is the famous thing in Gol Gumbas. So famous ಯಾಕೆ, why it was very popular or why it was very famous in India? Because Gol Gumbas has a big dome with whispering sound. Gol Gumbas has a big dome with whispering sound. ಬರೀ ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕಷ್ಟೇ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಸ್ಪರಿಂಗ್ ಸೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಆ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಕೆತ್ತನೆಯನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವಿಸ್ಪರಿಂಗ್ ಚೇಂಬರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಏನು ಕಟ್ಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಗೋಲ್ ಗುಂಬಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಫೈನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಸೊ what is the fine example for that technology of that period, children? That is whatever they constructed a big dome with whispering chamber inside that monument, inside the monument of Gol Gumbas. That is the major technology they used to construct in Gol Gumbas. So then it is the second largest dome in the world, so that it's very famous and one of the famous monument in the world. It is a second largest dome in the world, children, and also the first largest dome in India, in our country. ಸೊ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲೇ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾದಂತಹ ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪಿನ ಒಂದು ಮಾನ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಲ್ ಗುಂಬಸ್. ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿನೇ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡೋಮ್ ಶೇಪ್ಡ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೋಲ್ ಗುಂಬಸ್. Then for your kind information, which is the first largest dome shaped construction in the world? You have to search it and then answer me, children. Okay. So these are the major monuments which are constructed under art and sculpture contributions of Adil Shahi dynasties. So many other constructions or monuments also constructed by Adil Shahis of Bijapur, children. They were Bara Kaman and Bade Kaman, Anand Mahal, Upli Buruji, Taj Bavdi, Chand Bavdi, and other monuments were the important constructions done in the period of Adil Shahis. These are the major contributions of Adil Shahis of Vijaypura among our in the period of 200 years. Overall 200 years they have to given their own contribution towards their dynasty. I hope you all understand this. So in the next class we will go with another lesson, children. May I think completed this lesson. Okay, next class we will do with another lesson. Thank you.